How to Make Any Man Miss You Badly, Even If He's Not Interested. Carl Jung. Listen, if he's not interested, you can't force him to miss you. You can't text him into desire. You can't overgive your way into his heart. But you can make him feel something he's not expecting. And when you do it right, he'll catch himself thinking about you, even when he swore he never would. Even when he told his friends you were just a friend. Even when he thought he had you all figured out. What I'm about to show you isn't about manipulation. It's about understanding human psychology at a level most people never do. Because once you understand how desire truly works, you stop being an option, and you become the one he can't stop thinking about. So let's start with the hard truth. Why is he not missing you at all? And if you've been blaming yourself, thinking you're not good enough, you're about to learn the real reason. Picture this. You text him, and the reply takes hours, sometimes days. When you ask to meet, he's busy. When you talk, the energy feels flat, polite, friendly, but detached. You keep trying to spark something. More kindness, more attention, more patience. And somehow, the more effort you give, the colder he becomes. Here's the painful truth. Everything you think you know about making a man care is wrong. Because the harder you try to convince him of your worth, the more you prove to him that he doesn't need to see it. It's not that he's cruel or heartless. It's that in his mind, there's no scarcity. Your presence is always there. Your attention is always available. It costs him nothing. And human beings, men especially, don't value what feels free and abundant. It's not about playing games. It's about understanding how the mind works. When something is always available, the brain filters it out. It becomes background noise. And in today's world, he's drowning in attention, messages, likes, and validation. Everyone wants something from him. So when you join that crowd, even with the best intentions, your effort blends in. He's not rejecting you because you're not enough. He's indifferent because you've given him no reason to notice the difference. And the human brain is wired to notice contrast. We ignore what's common. We crave what's rare. When your attention has no mystery, no distance, no rhythm of presence and absence, it loses emotional weight. And without that emotional weight, there's no curiosity, no hunger, no sense of loss. So if you want him to miss you, it's not about giving him more. It's about giving him less. Because paradoxically, the moment he feels your absence, he begins to feel your importance. That's when curiosity starts working in your favor. That's when his mind starts asking, wait, where did she go? But let's be honest, it's easier said than done. Because when you like someone, your instinct is to move closer. You want to fix the distance by filling it with effort. You want to show him how amazing you are. But every time you chase, you teach his nervous system something, that you're the pursuer and he's the prize. And when that dynamic settles in, attraction dies quietly. He doesn't consciously decide to lose interest. It just fades, like a song he's heard too many times. So the question becomes, how do you reset the rhythm? How do you create that spark of mystery again? It begins with the first move, and it's the hardest one. You have to disappear from his front row. Not with anger, not with drama, not with a speech about knowing your worth. Just vanish from the spaces where he's used to finding you. Stop texting first. Stop commenting, liking, and reacting. Stop showing up as his emotional support system when he's not showing up for you. In the digital world, silence speaks louder than words. When your name stops showing up in his notifications, something shifts. Because the human brain hates unfinished patterns. We crave completion. And when you suddenly go quiet, his subconscious starts searching for closure. Where did she go? Why did the pattern change? That tiny flicker of curiosity. That's the spark you've been missing. But here's where most people get it wrong. They disappear, and then they wait. They sulk. They stalk his social media. They wonder if he noticed. That's not the energy that makes someone miss you. Because emotional absence only matters when it's backed by visible presence elsewhere. You have to replace the energy you were pouring into him and invest it into yourself. New habits, new people, new growth. You don't do it to make him jealous. You do it because that's how your energy becomes magnetic again. When you start living fully, genuinely, joyfully, that vibration radiates, and the same man who once overlooked you begins to wonder, why does she seem so different? It's not about pretending. It's about evolution. People can feel when your life is expanding. And curiosity is born when someone senses that you're becoming something they no longer have full access to. Now, let's go deeper into the psychology behind it. Every man, no matter how logical, is driven by instinctual triggers of pursuit and value. When something feels predictable, his brain relaxes. When something feels uncertain, his focus sharpens. That's why unpredictability creates attraction. It activates a primal pattern, the need to figure you out. So when you pull away, his mind doesn't say, "Oh, she's ignoring me." It says something's changed. What is she thinking? Who's she with? Why do I suddenly care? That curiosity grows stronger the less he knows. And the beauty of it is, you're not manipulating anything. You're just removing the noise that kept you invisible. Remember this, silence isn't weakness, it's a signal. It tells him you're no longer waiting. It tells him you have a life, purpose, and energy beyond him. And nothing makes a man miss you more than realizing your world still moves without his participation. This is the foundation. Because before he can miss you, he has to notice the space you leave behind. And before he can crave your energy, he has to realize he doesn't have constant access to it. That's when he begins to feel something he didn't expect, the pull of your absence. So from this moment on, stop trying to be louder. Stop explaining. Stop proving your worth. Just step back with quiet confidence. Because true attraction doesn't come from chasing. It comes from creating space and letting curiosity do the work. And in that silence, something powerful happens. He begins to remember your presence, not because you reminded him, but because his own mind did. When a man stops noticing you, it's not because you've lost your spark. It's because the rhythm between you became predictable. Familiarity, when unbalanced, kills emotional tension. And without tension, there's no curiosity. Without curiosity, there's no desire. Think of it like this. A song loses its magic when it's played on repeat. Even the best melody fades into background noise if it never changes. Human connection works the same way. We're drawn to patterns that evolve, not ones that repeat endlessly. So if you want a man to start thinking about you again, you have to reintroduce contrast, light and shadow, presence and absence, comfort and mystery. Because emotion doesn't live in comfort zones. It lives in the tension between what's known and what's unknown. Most women make the mistake of trying to close that gap. They think that if they just stay present, texting, reminding, proving, he'll wake up and appreciate them. But what actually happens is the opposite. He adjusts to your presence. You become a certainty. And what the male mind does with certainty is take it for granted. The male brain is wired for pursuit. It's not about games, it's biology. When something feels certain, his attention drifts. When something feels uncertain, his energy rises. He starts to pay attention. That's why emotional contrast is so powerful. When you step back, when you become a little less accessible, a little less predictable, you create a vacuum. And the human brain can't stand vacuums. It rushes to fill them with thoughts, images, and questions. That's when he begins to replay conversations, to scroll through old photos, to wonder if you're still thinking about him. Here's what most people don't understand. Missing someone doesn't begin with love. It begins with uncertainty. It begins when the mind realizes it no longer has guaranteed access to it, something it once took for granted. When you stop reaching out, his first reaction might be relief. He tells himself, she's finally moved on. But underneath that relief is a quiet discomfort, an unspoken question. Why did she stop? That question becomes the seed of curiosity. And curiosity is the root of emotional attachment. So, here's what you do. Instead of over-explaining your silence, you let the distance speak for you, because silence invites projection. And projection is where emotional hooks are born. When he doesn't know what you're doing, his mind starts to imagine. And the imagination is always more powerful than reality. He'll picture you smiling, laughing, moving forward, with or without him. And every image his mind creates will feel real. That's how memory works. The human brain doesn't distinguish strongly between imagination and memory. Both activate the same emotional circuits. So when you create distance, you give him mental space to replay your story in his head. And each replay adds emotional weight. You're not forcing him to miss you. You're allowing his own psychology to do the work. Now, this doesn't mean you should vanish completely. Disappearing without growth or movement is just absence, not attraction. The key is to replace reaction with creation. Start redirecting that energy toward yourself. Go out more. Do things that challenge you. Reconnect with your feminine energy. Not the performative kind that seeks validation, but the grounded, radiant kind that glows quietly. When you begin to glow from within, he feels it, even from a distance. You don't have to post selfies or prove anything. Just let your new rhythm show up naturally. The kind of energy that says, I'm living my life. I'm at peace. I'm becoming more. That calm, radiant self-assurance does more than 1,000 messages ever could. And here's a secret. Men are incredibly sensitive to energetic shifts. Even if they can't name it, they feel it. When you're anxious, they feel the pull. When you're calm and self-contained, they feel the gap. That gap is magnetic. It's not about pretending to be busy. It's about becoming busy, because your life has purpose beyond him. When your world expands, his perception of you expands too. You move from being someone who orbits his attention to someone who has her own gravity. And gravity is irresistible. It pulls without chasing. It attracts without noise. Now let's talk about something deeper. Emotional anchoring. Every relationship, no matter how brief, creates emotional anchors. Sensory imprints tied to your presence. A scent, a phrase, a song, a look. These are psychological buttons that stay stored in the subconscious. When he encounters one, maybe a song you both liked, a place you visited, or even a tone of voice that sounds like yours, the memory resurfaces automatically. That's not something you can fake. It's created by authentic emotional connection. So while you're silent, those anchors begin to activate. And when they do, he'll feel something he can't explain. A flicker of warmth, a shadow of nostalgia. That's your presence echoing in his subconscious. The more grounded you are in your own life, the stronger that echo becomes, because energy follows focus. And when your focus is no longer on chasing him, Your energy becomes potent, self-contained, and magnetic. That's what makes people start thinking of you unexpectedly, in the middle of their day, while driving, or before they fall asleep. They're not thinking of you because you reminded them. They're thinking of you because you became unforgettable. Now, here's where emotional mastery comes in. Don't break your silence prematurely. The moment you feel the urge to reach out, pause. Ask yourself, am I acting from self-worth or from fear? If it's fear, stay still, because fear-based action reopens the wound you've just started to heal. Instead, channel that energy into growth. Improve your environment, your circle, your mind. The version of you that emerges from this phase will be lighter, sharper, and more self-possessed. And when you do reappear, when you post something new, or when he crosses paths with you, that transformation will hit him hard. Because men remember impact, not effort. They don't miss constant validation. They miss emotional experiences. And when you step into your power, you become an experience, not an option. So as you stay quiet, remember, this silence isn't passive. It's powerful. It's space for evolution. And while he's trying to figure out where you went, you're becoming the kind of woman he'll never forget. Let him wonder. Let him imagine. Let curiosity do what chasing never could. Because when he finally realizes that the calm, radiant version of you no longer needs him, that's when he'll start missing you for real. By now, you've created the first shift: silence. You've stopped feeding the dynamic that kept you invisible. But silence alone isn't enough. To make a man truly miss you, you have to rewire what his mind associates with you. You have to change the emotional frequency he connects to your presence. Because right now, if he doesn't miss you, it's not that he feels nothing. It's that his emotional response to you is neutral, predictable, safe. He knows what to expect, and that's exactly why he doesn't feel anything. The human brain doesn't crave comfort. It craves stimulation. That's what keeps us curious, alert, and alive. And attraction is born in that state of emotional alertness. When something or someone makes us feel more, we pay attention. So your goal now isn't to convince him, it's to reawaken the emotional charge that once existed, or that never had the chance to grow. And you do that by becoming unpredictable again. Unpredictability doesn't mean chaos, it means contrast. When he expects you to be soft, you surprise him with strength. When he expects indifference, you show warmth, briefly. Then pull back again. You keep him in a state of curiosity instead of certainty. Because when a man can predict your every move, he disconnects emotionally. But when he can't quite figure you out, you become unforgettable. Think about how people remember a movie. Not the scenes that were comfortable, but the ones that stirred something unexpected. The same principle applies here. You create memorable emotional peaks and valleys, and that's what his mind replays later. Now let's get practical. When you reappear, and you will, when the timing feels right, you don't announce it. You glide back into his awareness subtly. Maybe he sees you in a story. Maybe you like something once, after weeks of silence. Maybe he runs into you looking radiant, peaceful, and untouchable. No explanation, no apology, just quiet confidence. The kind that makes him question everything. His mind starts replaying. Did I misjudge her? Why does she seem different? Who's been giving her that glow? That's when curiosity turns into pursuit. Men are wired to chase what they don't fully understand. Not because they want confusion, but because it activates their problem-solving instinct. He wants to figure you out. He wants to re-engage, to test if he still has access to your attention. And here's where your power lies. You don't give it away freely anymore. You respond with warmth but boundaries, interest but self-respect. That combination is magnetic because now he's not just missing you, he's earning you. And that shift changes everything. Here's the psychology behind it. When people have to work for something, they value it more. It's called the effort justification effect. In simple terms, the harder we work for something, the more we convince ourselves it's worth having. So when you no longer chase, when you let him come to you, his brain starts associating effort with reward. Every time he gets your attention, it feels earned. Every time you're distant, it feels like a loss. That rhythm creates emotional intensity, the exact ingredient that builds desire. And this is where you must stay balanced. Don't swing from total silence to overexposure. Keep the rhythm uneven. Moments of warmth, followed by gentle distance. Moments of laughter, followed by mystery. This rhythm keeps his attention locked in without you ever trying too hard. Now let's talk about the deeper layer, emotional mirroring. It's one of the most powerful psychological principles in human connection. When two people interact, their emotional states subconsciously sync. If you're anxious, he feels tension. If you're calm and grounded, he feels stable. If you radiate peace, confidence, and quiet joy, he feels drawn to you, even if he doesn't understand why. So the goal isn't to make him feel what you want him to feel directly. It's to embody the energy that naturally evokes it. When you carry yourself like a woman whose peace can't be disturbed, you create polarity. Because masculine energy, no matter how strong, is magnetized by feminine stillness, not neediness, not detachment, stillness. That calm, confident energy tells his subconscious she doesn't need me, but she chooses to be here. And that subtle difference changes everything. This is what the great psychologist Carl Jung meant when he said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." When you start acting from consciousness, not reaction, you reclaim your power. You stop letting his behavior dictate your energy. You become the one who sets the tone, and the tone you set should be emotional rarity, because what's rare captivates. Most women think the way to get a man's attention is to give more messages, more reassurance, more effort. But true value is born in contrast, when your presence feels like a privilege, not a given. You speak less, but say more. You appear less often, but leave a stronger impression when you do. You give less of your energy, but the quality of your presence when you're there is undeniable. That's what creates emotional addiction. Not games, but gravity. Let's break it down. A man doesn't fall for consistency. He falls for pattern disruption, something that makes his emotional world shift when you enter it. If you can become the woman who subtly disrupts his emotional routine, who adds excitement, softness, and curiosity, you don't have to chase him. His mind will do the chasing for you, because you've become unpredictable in the best way possible. He can't categorize you. He can't compare you. And that mystery becomes irresistible. So, when you finally interact again, remember this rule. Less explanation, more energy. Words convince the mind. Energy captures the heart. He'll feel the change before he understands it. And once he feels it, he'll start seeking it again. That's how desire truly works. It's not built through logic. It's built through emotionally charged experiences. And when you have that experience, when your silence, your voice, and your presence all evoke emotion, he won't be able to unsee you. Because attraction isn't a choice. It's an emotional consequence of energy contrast. He may not admit it. He may try to resist it. But something in him will keep turning toward you. Because your energy no longer feels like a comfort zone. It feels like a mystery he wants to solve. And that's when he starts missing you in the truest sense. Not out of guilt, not out of nostalgia, but out of longing. Because now you're not just someone he used to know. You're the woman who awakened a part of him he didn't know was sleeping. Now comes the most delicate part of all. You've created distance. You've triggered curiosity. You've awakened desire. But the true test begins when he starts to come back. Because when that message arrives, "Hey, stranger, been thinking about you? Or how have you been?" Your next move decides everything. If you respond from old energy, the cycle restarts. If you respond from power, the entire dynamic transforms. So before you reply, pause. Remember who you've become in the silence. Remember the peace, self-respect, the focus you built when you stopped chasing. That woman, not the one who begged for his attention, is the one he truly misses. And your goal now isn't to fall back into the old rhythm. It's to maintain the polarity that made him notice you again. When he reaches out, don't rush. Don't make yourself instantly available. A calm delay communicates more than 1,000 words. It tells him, my world doesn't stop when you text me. When you do reply, be warm, but not over-invested. Light, mysterious, playful. Leave room for him to wonder what's behind your calm confidence. The moment he feels he has your full attention again, the chase dies. But when he senses that your attention is earned, he values every bit of it. This is where balance matters most. Because if you swing to either extreme, total coldness, or overexcitement, the attraction collapses. You want to embody a steady center, soft but not desperate, open but not available on command, present but never predictable. Remember, attraction thrives on emotional rhythm, not a constant presence. Give him peaks and pauses, connection and distance, warmth and stillness. When he starts to engage again, don't rush to define it. Don't demand clarity too soon. Let the energy unfold naturally. Why? Because when a man feels pressured, he retreats. But when he feels magnetized, he leans in. Your new power comes from not needing an outcome. Because the truth is, when you genuinely evolve, when you've built a life rich with purpose, people, and peace, you stop needing him to validate you. That's the energy he can't resist. Men sense when a woman's happiness depends on them. They also sense when it doesn't. And nothing is more attractive than emotional independence wrapped in warmth. It's not about pretending not to care. It's about genuinely realizing that your life is full either way. That's when your energy shifts from "please choose me" to "I choose myself." And the moment you embody that truth, you flip the power dynamic forever. Now let's talk about emotional consistency. The biggest mistake women make once a man comes back is collapsing their boundaries out of excitement. They think he's finally interested again, and they pour all their energy back into him. But that's the very thing that made him lose interest in the first place. Consistency doesn't mean overgiving. It means staying true to the new rhythm you've created. You can be kind without being available 24/7. You can care without losing your focus. You can be affectionate without surrendering your self-respect. Every time you choose self-respect over instant gratification, you reinforce the attraction. Because men don't fall for words, they fall for energy. And your energy now says, I'm no longer chasing, I'm choosing. Here's another truth most people miss. When you finally stop chasing someone, you give them a gift, the space to feel their own emotions. When you were constantly reaching out, you shielded him from discomfort. Now, in your absence, he has to face what it feels like to lose your presence. That discomfort is what creates longing. And longing is what deepens desire. So when he starts showing up again, let him feel that space, even when you're talking. Don't fill every silence. Don't explain yourself. Let him sit in the mystery of you. Let him rediscover what it feels like to earn your attention. This is where feminine power truly shines. Not in control, but in composure. You don't chase, you attract. You don't demand, you allow. You don't react, you respond. Carl Jung once said, "The meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed." That's what's happening now. You're no longer reacting from insecurity. You're responding from power. And that shift transforms both of you, whether he realizes it or not. Now, let's talk about what happens next. If he's truly meant to be in your life, this new dynamic will draw him closer. He'll respect your boundaries. He'll step up with more consistency. He'll invest effort, not just emotion. But if he's not ready, if his energy is still flaky, confused, or self-centered, your silence will reveal it faster than words ever could. Because a man who's not ready for a woman in her power won't chase her. He'll fade. And that's not rejection. That's redirection. Your silence filters the wrong ones and attracts the right one. Your boundaries aren't walls, they're gates. And only those who value the entry will walk through. So if he disappears again, you don't crumble. You don't start chasing the ghost of what was. You simply smile, refocus, and keep moving. Because your power doesn't depend on his response. It lives inside your ability to stay grounded no matter what he does. And here's the paradox. When you reach that level of detachment, your energy becomes irresistible because you've become rare. And the rarest thing in today's world isn't beauty or youth or charm. It's peaceful. A woman who has peace, who radiates it, guards it, protects it, and becomes unforgettable. She doesn't need to prove her worth. She doesn't need to chase validation. She simply is. And that's when everything changes. He begins to realize that your calm isn't cold, it's confidence. That your silence isn't punishment, it's power. That your absence isn't emptiness, it's evolution. You've become the woman who stopped chasing and started leading, not by control, but by energy. And whether he stays or goes, you've already won. Because making a man miss you isn't about bending him to your will. It's about rising into your own value so completely that losing you becomes his awakening. You've shifted the power not through manipulation, but through mastery. Mastery of self, of emotion, of energy. So let this be your reminder. You never lose when you choose yourself. You never fail when you grow from silence. And you never truly get rejected by someone who wasn't meant to rise with you. When he thinks of you now, it won't be as the woman who chased him. It will be as if the one who disappeared did so gracefully and became unforgettable in her absence. Because the truth is, when you stop running after him, he has no choice but to turn around and face what he lost. And whether he comes back or not, you'll still stand tall, radiant, magnetic, untouchable. You've learned the real secret. You don't make a man miss you by disappearing from his world. You make him miss you by reappearing fully on your own. And that, right there, is the energy of a woman no man can forget.